Welcome back to my Fire Emblem 6 PMU run. Today we're tackling chapter 10. This chapter was actually pretty hectic. It was a lot of fun to play through, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So there'll be a lot to talk about throughout the duration of this. As always though, the beginning of the map is a bit slow as we spawn quite far away from all the action. But what makes this map interesting is that there's not one, not two, but three recruitable enemies this chapter. And what's more is that two of them actually don't spawn solo. Actually, I guess all of them don't spawn solo, but one of them spawns with enemies that are so weak they may as well be solo. But every single recruitable character spawns in this group of enemies of their same type. So the units we've got are Gonzalez, who's a bandit or a brigand. We've got Klein, who's a pre-promoted sniper. And we have Tate, who is a Pegasus Knight related to Shanna. And they all spawn surrounded by the same movement type. So Tate spawns surrounded by other Peg Knights, Klein's surrounded by archers, and Gonzalez is surrounded by bandits and brigands. It makes them quite difficult to recruit mostly. And in addition, for Tate and Klein specifically, there is a reward for keeping all of their units alive. After you recruit them, their allied units will turn green, so you won't have to kill them anymore. But until you recruit them, they'll be enemies, so it's quite difficult to keep them all alive, especially because Peg Knights are notoriously frail, and archers are just bad in general. But in particular, the rewards you get for keeping Klein's units alive are essential for this run. So what you get for keeping all of his units alive is an Orion's Bolt, which is the item that's used to promote archers. Now, I'm using two archers on my team, in case you couldn't tell, those being Sue and Wolt. And in terms of Orion's Bolts that you get throughout the game, there are only two that can be gotten through these sort of natural means. There are others you can get, but to get other Orion's Bolts, you would need to either steal them, which we can't do because we don't have a thief, or you would need to buy them from a secret shop. And I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to be using any secret shops yet. As for the other two Orion's Bolts, one of them is gotten in a village in this chapter, and the other one, as I said, is gotten for keeping all of Klein's units alive. So that was a huge priority for me, to keep him alive. Otherwise, either Sue or Wolt would pretty much be handicapped for the rest of the run. Now, if you are aware of Fire Emblem 6 lore, you would know that Klein's sister is Clarine, and you would assume that that's who you have to use to recruit him, and you'd be right. You can definitely use Clarine to recruit Klein. But, as I found out, you can actually use Roy as well. You can use Roy to talk to Klein, and that will recruit him. So in case you got Clarine killed, or you're like me and just don't want to bring her, you can still recruit him. And it's much easier to keep green units alive than red units, trust me. Especially because the green units will actually exit the map themselves. I wasn't aware of this. I read somewhere that they will attempt to attack the boss, and so I got very paranoid that I was going to have to continue to restart this chapter until they just didn't die. But that was not the case. They actually just leave the map on their own, which is great. But I didn't know that at the time, so you'll see me panic a bit later. As for Tate, well, Tate's a little bit less fortunate than Klein. It was a priority of mine to keep Klein's units alive, but Tate only rewards an Elysian Whip, and I already have an Elysian Whip, and the only flyer that's going to be joining us is Milady. So I kind of just elected to kill Tate and all of her units. I know, it's bad, but I wasn't going to use her anyway, and it would have just kind of been annoying to get Klein up to her. It doesn't really matter. Again, not going to use her, not going to recruit anyone with her. And she didn't really have anything on her as far as I'm aware. I guess Elysian Whips are somewhat expensive. and I could have sold them. But I don't think I'm hurting for money too much. These villages in the map are actually a really interesting and difficult side objective, because you'll see soon, the enemy density isn't too bad right now, but soon there are enemies crawling all over the map, and managing to get to every village is actually quite a hassle. There is also a reward for going to every single village, which we do get. I forget exactly what it is though, I think it's a stat booster of some kind. So yeah, the start of this map is somewhat easy. The enemies aren't too bad. But really all it's doing is goading you into the center of the map and then pincering you and destroying you from all sides. There's actually an interesting little feature here on this map where the two northwestmost villages give you a special item if you visit them with Ward or Lot. Obviously we don't have Lot, but we are using Ward. And the rewards are actually significantly better. On the house on the right, instead of getting, I think it's an elixir, you get a sword reaver, which is a reaver weapon for swords, obviously, which means it's an axe that's good against swords but bad against lances. And on the house on the left, I forget what the regular reward is, but instead of that you get a speed wings, which is actually fantastic because we have a lot of units that could use the speed wings. On the left here, I'm opting to send Sue on her own to get the village down the bottom. Nice level up from her, by the way. You might wonder whether or not I'm going to go into that armory, and the answer is I'm not going to. The only weapons I really need at the moment are more swords. I'm definitely fine for lances. I maybe could use another javelin or two, but I can get those later. And in terms of axes, I don't have that many, but I also only have one axe user for now. So I don't really need to have that many axes. And it would just take up way too much time to go into that armory as well. Just getting to the house and getting back before the enemies surround her and gank her from all sides is actually more of a hassle than it sounds. Classic axe battle right there, both fighters missing their hand axe. To be fair, they're throwing them directly through a house, so I wouldn't expect their accuracy to be all that high. Here I really wanted to get this kill with Wood just because he doesn't have the chance to do things very often, and luckily I'm rewarded. That was basically a coin flip, and I have time for him to do that. He can visit that left house in a minute. As for everyone else who isn't my paladins or ward who's been shunted directly ahead, they basically just have to take ground in the center of the map and wait there for a while. I'm gonna kill this archer eventually and break that wall in preparation for getting to the boss, but we're not actually gonna do that for quite a while. Well done, Lilina. It's a lucky thing that that I didn't move Saul first, because I was going to just heal up Wolt. I was just going to heal up Wolt that turn before I move Lilina, but I guess 80-something% just isn't enough to secure a kill these days, so I'm glad I moved him last. But now the archer will go down. This wall actually has 100 health, which is really frustrating. I've noticed the breakable walls in this game tend to have a lot of health. Here this Dark Mage has a Nosferatu tome, which I don't know if it's the first time I've seen that in game. And cap level there from Saul. Well done. Good little res level up there at the very end. Very helpful. So we're actually going to have Wolt take care of that Dark Mage. He's going to take a lot of damage, but he will finally use up that Steel Bow. And you saw there I got the Sword Reaver from that village with Ward. The lady in there recognized him. I believe that Ward and Lot were born in those villages. It's like their home village, something like that. I don't know the exact lore around it. I didn't bother reading it. From this village we'll get a barrier staff. That should be quite useful for the rest of the run. Not quite as good as restore, but it'll come in handy, I'm sure. And we'll just have boars start to break down that wall. Pardon me. So Gonzalez is up the top right there of those bandits. Bandits will actually continuously spawn from that village for quite some time. And here Walt gets a crit and actually doesn't use up all his steel bow. Well done, Walt. Usually he would double and get rid of his steel bow, but this time that's not going to happen. I guess because he was next to Roy. So we're instead just going to finish it off on that wall. Despite having 100 health, that wall is coming down pretty quickly. And as for up top, got a bunch of bandits, what can I say? To recruit Gonzalez, you have to use Lilina. Don't ask me why, I guess she's a softie and can pick out good people, I don't know. But Lilina's too far away as of right now, so we're just gonna kill the rest of them, including that mini boss right there with Marcus. Who's going to get speed, brilliant. Well done, Marcus. And we'll kill off this other bandit right here. You might think it's dangerous to leave Gonzalez as an enemy in range of 3 sword units, and you'd be right. But he's actually deceptively bulky. He's pretty tanky, even though he has better stats in the alternative route of this map. He's still pretty good. And here's Klein, so this is where the map starts to get interesting. Klein spawns on this turn, and you see here Gonzalez almost killed himself by going for Rutger. If Rutger crit there, Gonzalez would be long dead. Luckily, Rutger sensed that Gonzalez has a kind soul and didn't crit him. Not that we need Gonzalez, I just figured it might be nice to have a devil axe. I could have recruited every character on this map, but I really didn't need to. I could have killed Gonzalez, honestly, but I think his is the only devil axe in the entire game. I don't know if I'll ever use a devil axe, but just having one might be nice. Could always sell it if I'm never going to use it. And there's the speed wings, very nice. I like it. So Klein spawns on this turn, or rather he spawned at the end of enemy phase last turn, and this coming enemy phase we're gonna get Tate, so we're gonna get bombarded by enemies starting in just a little while. In addition, I think next turn a group of 5 cavaliers spawn from where we started, so there's just a bunch of enemies coming soon. And of course from the top left, bandits will continue to spawn and continue to try to destroy villages that have already been taken. There's 2 as we speak. And that little boss conversation right there was just about reinforcements coming. I believe he was talking about the paladins, but maybe he was talking about Tate as well. Could be talking about both. What's really annoying is that these bandits that spawn have hand axes, or at least one of them has a hand axe, and obviously swords don't really have any ranged counterpart other than the light brand, which is on Rutger. So it's a little bit of a shame. So here, in previous runs, I opted to just attempt to get to the boss as quickly as possible to kill him before Klein could reach me, because I wasn't aware that Roy could recruit Klein, and so I thought the only way I'm keeping all of Klein's units alive, that is by just ending the chapter before they reach me. That didn't turn out to be the case though, so I changed up strategy and I opted to instead meet them halfway, get closer to them, and recruit them as quickly as possible so that they can run ahead while the danger is relatively low and we can take care of all the cavalier reinforcements. Unfortunately, things don't go exactly according to plan. For some reason, in every previous run, Klein was always at the head of his pack because snipers have 6 movement, whereas archers have 5. But for some reason, on this particular run, Klein was always roughly in the middle of his group of archers, which makes sense from a tactics standpoint, but is just really annoying as someone who wants to recruit him. It means that I had to spend a few turns just retreating, because to get to Klein, I would have to kill one of his archers, which would defeat the point. If I killed one, I may as well have just killed them all. So here's Tate with her group of Peg Knights. Obviously Peg Knights are really annoying, as are any flyers, because they have so much range and can move through terrain that other units can't. Which is why I left Ward and Boars slightly higher up. Luckily for me, they opt to go for Marcus, that's who they're targeting, which is good for me, because the bulk of my units are down the middle. So you see that for some reason Klein is like at the very bottom of his pack, and he moves up to about the middle. I have no idea why this happened. On every other run, he was basically at the front of the line. But for some reason, due to, I guess, movement order, he's at the very bottom. It might be due to who they're targeting as well, but I don't know why they'd be targeting any differently than usual. So you see here, all these Peg Knights are going for Marcus. Marcus can obviously handle a few puny Peg Knights. Pegasus Knights are supposed to be the I guess, lance equivalent of Myrmidons, where they're really fast but not all that strong. Except the problem is that they have next to 0 constitution, which means they're slowed down by basically everything, meaning their high speed is kind of worthless. So they're actually quite easy to kill, if not for the fact that a lot of them have javelins, and I don't have any hand axes up top except for on Ward. I opt to just put Gonzalez down on his own, just trying to keep him alive basically. I won't be using him in any way. Ward actually got doubled by that bandit there, not a big surprise in hindsight. And the rest of these Peg Knights are all going to crowd around. And these archers as well, there you go. Klein has moved up 1 spot, but that's not enough. And you know you're a bad unit when you get doubled by Boars. I think Boars has like 7 speed. I think he has as much speed as Ward does. So that's what a javelin and low constitution will do to you. So you see here, I can't actually reach Klein this turn. If those archers weren't blocking him, if there weren't 3 archers blocking him, I could. But again, if I have to kill any of the archers, then I may as well kill all of the archers, because that would defeat the purpose. And I'm not going to do that, because I need that Orion's Bolt to promote both my archer units. So I'm in a bit of a pickle here actually. There's a lot of enemies and I don't really have enough units to kill all of them. Boars doesn't double the Iron Lance Peg Knights, only the Javelin ones. He can do a little bit of damage, I suppose. He can help out a bit by being a bit of a tank. Here I'm just short a few points of strength to kill these Peg Knights in 1 turn. Luckily, because I double the Javelin ones, he can get that kill and make it a bit easier for me. But as for these archers, I moved back last turn, but that's not going to work. They're getting way too close. I can't get rid of all my units now. At least someone is going to be in range of them. And I don't want them to get too close to my Peg Knight squad. Peg Knight fighting squad, that is. So I have to form some sort of defensive wall to make sure that Roy is close enough next turn. I will concede a little bit more ground here, just to get them that little bit closer, but you see here I am like just on the edge of of being able to put my units somewhere safe. Saul is gonna have to take a hit here. No damage from that Peg Knight. Such a good unit type, right? As enemies, at least. As player units, Peg Knights are actually pretty good. But in the hands of enemies, my god, they're really not that threatening. So yeah, Saul's gonna have to take a hit here. Did I say Saul last time or did I say Ward? I meant Saul if I said someone else. But that was pretty much unavoidable. The only way he would have escaped that bit of damage there would be if I rescued him, but I'm gonna need all the heals I can get, I think. So here, finally, Roy's in range of Klein, and you see there, as I recruited him, his units went all green, in front of a pack of Cavaliers, which is just brilliant. I thought that they were gonna like suicide into the Cavaliers and attempt to kill them, and that I would have to restart the run again. So I was freaking out quite a bit at this point. Spoilers, luckily that doesn't happen, but it was pretty stressful at the time. And it still kind of is. I mean, there's a lot of units here, and as we know from previous chapter experience, Cavaliers aren't anything to mess with. Cavaliers are strong. I also don't have enough units to plug this 3-wide hole right here, you can see. If Roy didn't have to talk to Klein to recruit him, then he could have filled the hole, maybe, I think. He might have even been too far away though, I don't actually know. But either way, either Klein or Wolt has to like step into this hole to plug it up. What you saw me doing just there with Klein was trying to rescue one of the green units. I believe you can rescue green units in this game, but Klein just doesn't have a high enough aid stat. And here, I do something that you might disagree with. I think I use Klein to block the hole. Yeah. I do trade off his bow, so there's no chance of him actually doing any damage or engaging in real combat. But you might disagree with me even using him this much. And I guess I could have tried to figure out a way to not have to do this. But, I mean, I don't think it was that consequential. I don't think that much came from me having him block the hole. I think most of my units would have survived anyway. I guess I could have figured out another strategy, I don't know. But either way, what's done is done, and I used him just on this turn to block a hole, and that's that. This was actually a bit of a precarious situation. Those fighters have a lot of strength, and they both double ward, and one of them has a hand axe. If they both reached ward, ward would absolutely get destroyed. And that means I can't kill that Peg Knight, because if I killed the Peg Knight, then those two would be in range. Or if the Peg Knight just flew off to attack someone else, then those two fighters would be in range of ward. So I just had to rescue him there. There wasn't really anything else I could do. Which is unfortunate, because there's no one to drop him. But sometimes you gotta do things like that. Just seeing there who's injured, who I can heal with my physics staff. Turns out I don't really need to heal anybody. It looks like I don't actually put Klein in range that turn. I don't remember if I did that. I think I put Klein in range on some trials of this map. Maybe not this one though. It seems I haven't done it so far. Instead, the Cavs will get blocked by the green unit, and luckily the green archer will dodge. Not that he would have died. Level up from Lance here, really, really good. Love that strength. Love that strength. Here, I don't know why the Peg Knights prefer to aim at Marcus with 2 range rather than Sue at 1 range. I don't really get it, but it helps me. Also a fantastic level up from Lilina there. It helps me if they go for Marcus instead, because obviously Marcus isn't going to die whereas Sue is actually kind of low and has poor defense. So you see here, I was very worried that these archers were just going to attack the boss because of things I had read online. But I probably should have figured out just from this turn that they're not hostile, because if they had aggressive AI, they probably would have attempted to hurt those cavaliers instead. Here I have to plug up this bandit hole with Marcus. Don't take that out of context, please. Otherwise, that bandit is going to get through and really make things difficult for me. And as for the rest of my units up there, Boars is going to kill Tate, and Tate doesn't give very much experience. Thanks, Tate. You were really useful. I'm going to just move everyone out of the way. I put a javelin on Boars specifically to try to influence that top brigand bandit to not attack him, because I know the enemies in this game have a preference for attacking without getting counter-attacked, and they don't really care how much damage they would do otherwise. So I want him to go for Marcus and create sort of a choke point. Speaking of choke points, down here we've got a bit of a situation on our hands. Lilina almost died last turn. She almost got one shot. I say almost, she has 4 HP left, which is pretty good by Lilina standards. But either way, we're going to get rid of most of the cavs this turn, but unfortunately one has to live because Roy couldn't kill one on his own. He was close with that rapier, but he did have weapon triangle disadvantage, I guess. If he had got a crit, would have been really nice. He had about a 13% chance to do that, but I mean, relying on crits is never a good idea. So I think, yeah, here is where I use Klein to just plug up the hole for a turn. It's just one turn. It's not like I was making extensive use of him. Again, I understand if that's kind of, you know, going against the spirit of the run, and I apologize for that. But at the time, I didn't really know what else to do. I didn't want to have to restart the whole thing again. Gonzalez is really kind of in a pickle here. I can't really put him anywhere at the moment. There's nowhere safe for him to be that's close to the main enemies. So here you see I'm stressing about what to do with the Wolt, because at this point in time I'm still thinking that these guys are just going straight for the boss and a Wolt can't rescue any. So my thought was, I just have to get Wolt up there and see what Wolt can do against the boss or just against the enemies that are nearby. Try to protect them for as long as possible in whatever way he possibly can. Yeah, it turns out my worries there were kind of unfounded. I just had to just leave him in the pack of them to see what they would do. And you see there, the boss is talking about more reinforcements, like we haven't had enough so far this chapter. A group of 4 cavaliers and 1 paladin will be spawning down from where we spawned, in addition to the cavs that we're just about to finish dealing with. We won't have to deal with them for a while now, but we will have to deal with them eventually. This physic monk, really annoying. Don't do that. That guy was almost dead and you had to just ruin it. So here I can move Klein out the way. He's a pretty solid unit. Looking at those bases, he's way better than Wolt's ever going to be, I think. But I mean, my Wolt is pretty strength screwed, so it's not exactly a huge surprise. Still, it's kind of disappointing that there are prey promotes in this game that are just straight up better than the units that you've been raising for basically the entire game. A little bit of a balance flaw in this game, I think. A lot of the prey promotes are just straight up better than any unit you could possibly have raised by that point in the game. Obviously, the thing about prey promotes is they're supposed to fall off. They're supposed to not be as good towards the end of the game because they don't level up as much. But honestly, some of them are just so strong at base that they can just be used for the rest of the game. Even if they didn't get a single level up after they joined, they'd still be good. Cough cough, Percival. So here I'm beginning to move all of my units up. Basically the only units that are engaging in combat right now are Marcus plugging up those bandits and Lance is going to probably be the first guy to handle those cavs. I believe at this point in time, my plan was to have Lance stay down where he is to deal with them all on his own. I figured he probably could do that. But later I decided it'd probably be a better idea to not take on 5 units at once, and I move him up to plug the hole where Roy is currently standing. So at this point, I was beginning to think maybe those archers would just leave normally, because it doesn't seem like they're too interested in killing either of the monks either. So I was just really hoping that they were non-aggressive and that they would just leave peacefully, and that's exactly what they ended up doing. Luckily for me. Marcus is doing a good job there with those bandits. And with everyone else, it's time to just move out of the way. I can't leave Roy in range of that bottom bandit because he has a killer axe, and I don't want Roy, did I say Roy? I meant Wolt. I don't want Wolt to get crit and die. I will actually leave Roy to get crit and die though. That's something I don't care too much about. And we'll get this kill with Lilina. She has just enough strength because monks have a lot of res. Not that gave her much XP, not much at all, but hey, any XP is good XP. And yeah, I'm deciding to move Lance up. He's a fantastic unit and all, but I don't know if he's take on 4 cavaliers and a paladin at the same time. Fantastic. He's not Percival. So yeah, I don't know about that. Those bandits up the top have actually moved in a really convenient way. The hand axe bandit is in a little nook right there, so he is actually forced to attack me next turn, and this guy only has a steel axe. Actually, he's dead. So the hand axe guy is gonna be forced to actually attack me instead of run away and throw something at me that will never hit me in a million years. And the archers are finally gone. The green archers are gone, so as long as I keep Klein alive, which I don't know how I would fail to do that at this point in the chapter, I should be getting that Orion's Bolt at the very end. Good stuff. If you wonder why I'm not killing that monk yet, it's because I want to do it with Ward, since it's basically free experience since they can't fight back. I wanted to use one of my units that doesn't get all that much use. And as for that other bandit to the right there, I'm going to use Roy to deal with him. I don't think Rutger needs any more experience at this point. Here we're moving Gonzalez up. We're basically just getting everyone out of the center of the map, except for those who are going to take on the Cavaliers. And we're going to have Lance take care of that killer axe bandit, because Lance wouldn't die even if he crit. There I was just considering killing that monk with either of those two there, Sue or Rutger, but I opted not to. This bandit actually hits me with his hand axe, which is surprising, but not exactly that dangerous. It's just a hand axe. Roy is so close to being able to one around these kinds of enemies, he just needs a few more points of strength. And maybe a better weapon. That would probably also help. He's still using an iron sword. I think he gets weighed down by anything else though. So there go all the archers. That means our Orion's Bolt is basically guaranteed. And here I decide to move Marcus because otherwise he's going to just get blocked off by those Cavaliers. Marcus is going to be the first of our units to tank them all, and later I will move him out and use Lance instead, I believe. The Paladin actually has a hand axe, which is rather scary. And here that killer axe berserker gets a taste of his, not berserker, that killer axe bandit gets a taste of his own medicine, and he gets crit by an iron sword. It's gotta feel pretty bad, huh? I decided to just physic up Marcus. I don't know how much of a beating he can take it at low health. And I decided to move Rutger further down. just in case he has to help out with killing those cavaliers. Gonzalez is going to go take care of some houses. He's going to pick up some stuff, some loot from them. Going to rob them silly. Roy will get this kill. Wolt will get this one. Actually, no, Lilina will get it because I think Wolt would die if he missed, and I wasn't going to take that chance. Wolt could have got that kill if he was higher health, but unfortunately. And Ward is going to miss. Something we're very used to seeing. As for Boars, I'm keeping him close by in case he can help plug up the hole as well and maybe get a little bit of experience. I wouldn't trust him anywhere near that paladin though. He would get absolutely shredded by that paladin. But as for the rest of them, they have steel lances and iron swords. And I think he could probably handle that. Unfortunately, that doesn't ever get a chance to happen because the paladin is going to avoid direct confrontation for quite some time, meaning that it's never really safe to put Boars in range. But it was the thought that counts, I guess. Marcus actually doubling units in chapter 10. Very impressive stuff. Honestly, Marcus is still a pretty huge candidate for those speedwings. I'm holding on to them as of right now. The two candidates in my mind for speedwings are Milady, who is the Wyvern Rider who's going to join us soon in a few chapters, or Marcus, just to help Marcus double for the rest of the game. I haven't entirely decided yet. I'll have a look at her bases when we get her, and I'll decide whether or not I'm going to use them on her or Marcus. That's only in a few chapters from now, so one of them will be super buff by that time. So here I decide to move Marcus back. He's going to just support Lance with 2 range options, and we're going to move Lance in to take the brunt of the attacks instead, just because for all intents and purposes, Lance is just better than Marcus at this point. He has the same strength, the same defense, less res, but that's, you know, that's its own thing. I think they have similar HP, but Lance is just so much faster. He's like 6 points faster than Marcus. So Lance is mostly better than Marcus at this point. Marcus is still good, mind you. He's gotten some really solid level ups, but he's definitely not as good as he once was. And there I was just testing with Rutger if he could kill that paladin, because that paladin has a hand axe and not a lance of any kind. He probably could if he got a crit. He had a 63% chance to crit, but I wasn't going to leave Rutger in range of like 3-4 other enemies that he has weapon triangle disadvantage against. Instead, we'll just keep Lance in that choke point hole and have him deal with absolutely everything. Good unit. Running out of javelins here. Marcus is going to be a kill steal. Lance could do a little bit of damage to some of these guys with a javelin, but I figure it's just not worth it. I'll just keep the Gant Lance equipped. Gonna send Sue to get the bottom village as well, so we get all of them. From this one we get our first Orion Bolt, which is fantastic. We'll get the second one at the end of the chapter. And here I'm just going to send Roy to deal with this bandit with some Wolt support in case he needs it. I doubt he does, but... And finally that monk is going to die. Wow, that was worth it. So much experience. I'm joking. Anything helps. Especially on a unit like Ward. And here Lilina actually doubles this boss, and because he starts with his melee weapon equipped and not his javelin or hand axe or whatever it is, Lilina makes mincemeat out of this boss, really. She's gonna get 1 level up here. HP, magic, skill, luck, really good. And then she can, like, basically kill him next turn and get another level out of that. So, very efficient XP usage right there. Despite already being pretty high leveled, Lilina's still getting a lot of experience, which is great. Lance is doing his best down here. faced with these 3 cavaliers. And Roy will make some pretty short work of that bandit. I believe I just feed that kill to Wolt and send Roy back up towards the throne, since Lilina will be done with the boss so quickly. One more village to collect, which will be reached next turn, I think. And there's just a few units left to kill here. Marcus will use up his javelin perfectly. Here with Rutger, I'm going to attempt to kill this guy with a crit. He has a 63% chance and he hits twice. He only needs 1 crit to do this. And he will get it neither time, which is great. But again, as I said earlier, relying on crits is a surefire way to make sure that you're not having a good time. Here Lance can't actually kill this guy. Really unfortunate. So it's going to take an extra turn of combat to deal with these guys. Boars could potentially get this kill here, but I don't trust a 34% hit rate. I don't think there's much point even trying that. Instead, I'm just going to move him ever so slightly closer in case he can help out a little bit on the next turn. Here I just decided to see how badly Ward fares against the boss. He doesn't have his hammer on him. Not that the hammer would have had very good hit anyway. But I decided it's not worth it. I'll just rescue drop Lilina out. Again, I didn't really need to do that either, but you know, I wasn't going to do anything with either of those units this turn anyway, so Zinc will heal just a little bit. Rutger will take just a little bit of damage. Thanks, hand axe guy. Real cool. And I decided to let Marcus have this kill because Marcus getting a lot of experience is something that's only going to happen rarely. And then Boars can hopefully get this one after a little bit of damage is done. Yeah, I think he has exactly enough might to get this kill if he hits. And when I said a lot of experience, I meant like 8. Marcus doesn't get a lot of experience anymore. And here Boars got his first and only kill of the entire map. Well done, Boars. Level 14. HP defense. Proud of you. Well done. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much opportunity to use him, to be fair. If I was going to have killed the archers, he probably could have done something. But nah, that didn't happen. And there goes the boss. So that's basically the chapter. And another full level for Lilina right there. Magic skill speed res. Perfect. Well done. So there's just a few more things left to do in this map. Just one more turn left. Roy's basically at the gate. So we're just going to get this village with Sue. That is all the villagers collected. And this one had another Sword Reaver. I think that means we have 3 now? 2 or 3? I think we already had one before this chapter started, but I might be wrong about that. And then I'm going to promote Wolt. Yes, he's at 79 experience, and I probably could have gotten another level before I promoted him. But at this point, I figured I just want him to be slightly better than he is. So there's going to be a few turns of those two just moving towards each other, so that Wolt can collect that Orion's Bolt that we just got and use it. Sorry for wasting your time. I probably could have sped this part up, but I figured it was just like 2 turns, 3 turns. It's really not worth it. Here we go. Finally they meet. And Wolt is gonna promote. Again, probably could have waited a few more experience points, but I didn't want to. So it's my playthrough. And there we go. Even his promotion bonuses aren't enough to save him from being mediocre, but 3 strength is nice. And that's the chapter. We'll get a few items here at the very end, but I'm sure you can tell what they are. Wormslayer, very useful. I'll see you guys next time.